right, perfect. Yes, so we have talked about higher time frame, about entries right now, so you know how to execute on the ID. Now I also want to touch on simplifying. We will also touch on the exercises, the journaling, and the trade plans, etc. They will come in the last week. So that's MMP week where we sum everything up to get you to know everything that you need to know, etc. So don't worry, it's not the end of execution. It's not the end of higher time frame. Don't worry, everything will return. Everything you need to know will absolutely come as well. So don't worry about that. But as well, the simplifying, that is what I want to talk about today and what we've been able to do here. And the reason why I want to explain it in a separate video, in this specific video, is because I've seen people in the mentorship before, and they came and they wanted to learn my my tricks or my trading plan, etc. Maybe it was my fault. Again, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm taking full responsibility. It was my fault maybe for not communicating it in a clear, proper way. But everything that has been taught here is everything you need to know. So every concept that has been taught in the trading community, in the ICT community, etc., that's already involved in your trading plan here. Everything we've gone over is everything you need. And it's this dangerous belief that it's not enough. That is very dangerous. Again, simplifying, I always compare it to hacking. When you hack something, you need to know the ins and outs of how the system works, because then you're able to get in and hack something. That's exactly what we've been able to do. We know the ins and outs of everything, and we know we can strip certain things away and we can still achieve the same exact outcome, maybe even better sometimes. And that is exactly how we've been able to do it. And that is the main premise behind everything that we do here. So again, I also want to give you examples right here of how all the concepts that you've been maybe taught in the ICT mentorship, etc., are already involved in the plan. The reason I do that, and that is very important, again, disclaimer, I'm not showing you that because I want you to use that. No, I want you to actually avoid doing that because, like I just mentioned, in the mentorship before, there have people came into the mentorship, and what they did is they watched the videos, but then after a certain moment in time, they started using all these different concepts from all other mentors, etc., which you don't need. And that is very dangerous because it's this loophole of trying to always find a new concept that you can incorporate into your training plan. That's absolutely not necessary. It's the last thing that's necessary. It all comes down to your mindset if you just have simple guidelines to follow. Now, that is also the reason why we simplify in the first place. If you have 1,000 concepts that you need to take into account and you have a pre-analysis that is so extremely large, what will that cost? Well, first off, you need to spend a lot of time in the charts to find a trade opportunity. So what does that do? That takes a lot of brain capacity from you, right? It takes a lot of focus, a lot of effort. When you are distracted by the charts, so you are distracted, you're finding an opportunity. You need to find an opportunity. You're distracted by the charts. You are controlled by the charts. So what does that mean? You don't have control over your psychology when things do go south. So again, what do I mean by that? We all know a feeling when we are in a fight, for example, in an argument. I think we've all been there. When you're in an argument and that argument just controls your thoughts, sort of, and you just spit out things and you say everything that comes to mind, etc. It's basically the same thing, where if you're so distracted by a chart and you don't self-analyze at that moment because you're distracted by all the technical concepts, then that leads eventually to overtrading, etc., etc. Because you can't control yourself. You have no focus. You have no brain capacity left to focus on your emotions, to be able to control them. That is extremely important as well, why we simplify. And as well, more fancy trading does not equal making more money. And we know this is a fact. And everyone knows this is a fact. But no one truly does it. No one truly believes it. And the reason why I tell you that as well is because the whole philosophy behind this community is, again, focusing on making money. That is so important. And again, I don't want to just rant in this video. I want to actually give you some valuable information. Now, that is exactly my plan as well. But again, just a reminder, the ones that are making big money, they don't trade like the banks, like the smart money No. They trade very simple, very stupidly simple. And again, it works. It works. So again, doesn't mean we should, that is also what I'm trying to say. Simplifying does not equate to you don't understand it or you're stupid. No. You actually understand it on such a deep level that you are able to simplify it. Because how do we simplify? How have we been able to simplify? Again, what I will show you here is the concepts, etc., that we've been able to simplify. You don't need to use them. That is very important. You don't need to pay attention to them because they are already inside your training plan. That is extremely crucial for you to understand. All right. So I don't want to see anyone all of a sudden start training Power 3. No. It's not necessary. All right. If you do want to, be my guest, but you're just doing yourself a disservice. And I'll tell you why. When we came into trading, or when I came into trading, you had all these different concepts. And at a certain moment in time, I just realized that a lot of the concepts are extremely irrelevant. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's take Power 3. Now, very basic Power 3, you would take midnight open. Midnight open is that right there. That is midnight open. And usually what a candle does, again, you don't need to know this. I'm just explaining for the sake of how we've been able to simplify it. Power 3 is right there, same as AMD. AMD cycles is where we first make the wick and then we continue lower and make the lower part of the candle. So on a daily basis, it would look like first we have the wick higher and then the body, and then we make the opposite wick right there. That is Power 3, AMD cycle. What can you do? All you're doing is using a premium array right there, and you're using a 15-minute ST entry, for example, right there. When you follow those steps, 4-hour premium array, 15-minute ST, does it then matter that we have a Power 3 there? No, it does not. It does not equate to making more profits, more money, because the same exact setup would have happened there. And again, I'm talking from experience. It's not just something I sort of came up with, or I just thought, oh, no. No, I'm talking from experience, because all these things are irrelevant. The same, when we use an ST model, what are we not paying attention to? A market structure shift is not relevant. So all these things are not relevant in your trading plan. The same for what? When we're moving from 4-hour premium array to 4-hour discount array. That is your context. Context high, context low. So that is where we want to get involved, right? On the 15-minute and on the 5-minute, what does that create? A market maker sell model. Is that relevant to know? No, it's not. Again, that is how we combine all these rules. For example, the Power 3, the market structure shift, they are combined into one simple rule, which is just the 4-hour premium array, 15-minute ST, and that's it. If we were taking, for example, another entry model that I know that is pretty well known, you need a displacement, you need a fair value gap, you need a market structure shift. What if we only need a fair value gap lower? Perfect. And we achieve the exact same thing. So it's not worse. And that is what a lot of people don't understand, is when you simplify, you're not making things worse. You're making it better, actually. And usually people think more concepts equates to making more money, etc., understanding more, etc. This is absolutely not true. And that is, again, talking from experience, it's just not necessary. It's absolutely futile. So that is what I need you to understand. And I think if you can truly understand this on a very deep level, with every single thing that I do has already been simplified in such a manner. The same for, you don't need to know if we are sweeping that high or whatever. No, if we have a fair value gap in the leg lower, it creates an overflow leg. So this high is protected. It's as simple as that. And it is as simple because, again, I had a mentor and he taught me a lot of concepts. But at the end of the day, I was like, all these concepts might be very fancy. Are they very useful though? No, because a lot of the concepts come out to the same exact thing. And if we've just been able to simplify it like that, we come out to the exact same trade as someone that would have taken that was using 1,000 concepts. but we make it way easier. Now, what is the difference between us, who's using just one concept, and another person who's using 1,000 concepts? We have enough brain capacity. We have almost all of our brain capacity left to execute on that idea and to control our emotions in the meantime. So trading almost becomes very simple, very relaxed, very comfortable. It's not, I don't feel weird. I don't think, all right, I might tilt right now. No, because I'm not distracted by the charts. That is extremely important to understand. So that is why we also simplify. That is what it means to simplify. What you're doing is simplifying. You're not making it worse. You're making it better. You're forming 1,000 rules into only 5 simple rules that equate to the same exact thing. That is very important to understand. Now, everything here, market maker model. The same for your macros. Macros, again, some people like to use them. Be my guest. I think they are irrelevant. And the reason why is because during a macro, the entry pattern shows itself, right? During a macro. So you have 2 things. The entry pattern shows itself and you have a macro going on. If you take away that macro and you only have the entry pattern going on, then that is enough, right? Because before that macro or after that macro, there was no entry pattern. So does it matter that you are paying attention to that certain time? No, because you achieve the exact same outcome. And that is very important to realize. And that is how you're able to simplify. You're taking 2 things and you turn them into one. So the macro is not that relevant. That's why I said the macro is not relevant. The same for your IPTA data ranges. They're not relevant. The 20, 40, 60, they are not relevant. Again, when I mention these things, the same as your Reaper, the same as your inversion levels, they're all irrelevant. It's crazy to think about, and it really is. But if you study it, and that's what I've done for a lot of years, that's what I've done. So if you study it, you'll see, yes, they are indeed somewhat irrelevant. They are. They make you more comfortable maybe, but by making you more comfortable, you're also distracted by that and you can't pay attention to control your emotions anymore. So that is very important. Every single thing that has not been taught in this mentorship is extremely irrelevant. That is what I want you to know. And then, of course, just a reminder, the training plans, etc., everything you need to know will also follow up in the MMP. Next week is psychology, etc. But this is extremely important to understand. And why is this important to understand? Because after this video or after you're done with this enrollment, then I personally would love for you to stick to this, to stick to the things and don't incorporate any outside concept at all. Because you're likely messing up how the training plan performs. Because if I have this training plan for you laid out right here, and again, a training plan here is you can get very creative. So that is what we'll show you in the MMP week as well. You can get very creative. You don't need to have this exact training plan, what I just mentioned as well in the entries, etc. We can also scalp. We can do a lot of things here. And that's exactly what we will show you. You just combine the time frames differently. And that is your toolbox. That is where the magic happens. When you combine the time frames differently. That is the magic. Now, right here, if you incorporated power 3 right there, and you incorporated a market structure shift right there, then you're messing it up essentially, because you don't understand it. And again, that might be my fault, because maybe I've not communicated. That is why I want to make this video on it separately, because I think it's very important to understand that you don't add in any concepts, nothing. Everything you need is already in it, because what you're doing here, you're basically destroying the whole premise behind the training plan when you add in a market structure shift, when you add in a power 3. Why? Because it's already in the training plan. So why should you add it? It's like you have it twice now. But the first time you didn't pay attention to it. So the second time you're paying attention to it and it's just taking away your focus. It's irrelevant. It's like scrolling through TikTok. It's all irrelevant information, 99% of it. You don't need it. So why are you paying attention to it? Again, it might make you comfortable, but do you need it? No. So remove it. Because you achieve the same outcome if you didn't use it. That is extremely important to understand. So again, I try not to rant, get straight to the point as well, as you know, but this is very important information because this is at the core. This is the mindset that you need to have And I just want my concepts to be fully understood. That is what I want to achieve here. So everything has already been simplified. Literally, you can name a concept. It has already been simplified and it's in the plan. Every concept. You can send me an email, whatever you want to do. You can send me a list of concepts and I'll tell you exactly how it has been simplified already in the training plan. So the higher time frame does the work. The only purpose the lower time frame has is to get in sync with what we've seen on the higher time frame. The lower time frame is not for you to establish a bias on. I'll actually show you the Notion really quick because I'm reading this from the Notion right here. Let me change the screen. Just a moment, please. I'm sorry about this, but for some reason OBS takes its time trying to switch to a different screen. Yes, perfect. All right. Sorry about that. But right here we have the training dashboard, progress, and then execution. So what can we see? We've gone over the basics, entries, conditions. Journal again will come in MMP because I think that's the easier approach as well. Simplifying, that is where we currently are. Now, the higher time frame does the work. The only purpose the lower time frame has is to get in sync with what we've seen on the higher time frame. The lower time frame is not for you to establish a bias on. That's what a lot of people also mistakenly do, is they don't have a boundary first off. And when you get to a bias on the lower time frame and you just execute, you get to a bias on the 5 minute and you execute on the 5 minute, then there's no boundary. When you do that if you don't have a boundary, then why are you even on the 5 minute, right? That's not the way to go. So that's, again, not something we are doing here. You don't establish your bias on the lower time frame. No, it's easy to do it on the higher time frame as well. And you achieve the exact same things that we just mentioned. That is why it's simplifying. You have that boundary because then all the concepts are in play right there. And then all you have to do is look for that entry pattern right there. That's it. So remove all noise. Everything that isn't necessary to be there shouldn't even be marked up. Everything that has no point in being marked up should not get marked up. Again, if you just follow along with the videos, you will not have any weird concepts that you're using. So this is, for example, what are you currently using in your plan? Is there anything that can be removed which couldn't change the plan? That does not mean, and that's also very important to understand, I'm not referring there to the plan we have just gone over in the higher time frame, the entries, etc. No, you can leave everything that is being taught in the training plan. But this is just to get my point across, etc. So that is very important as well. If you don't have a plan, etc., and you're waiting for MMP to create the plan, then of course, just ignore this. All right, perfect. Simplifying doesn't mean you should change the core of your strategy. That is also very important. You will never see me change any concepts or throw randomly every week new concepts at you. No, never, because it works. So why change a winning team? Doesn't make any sense. So that is also, you can probably see it around you in the trading community and in the trading industry. It's very weird. It's very weird behavior to give out a new concept every single week, etc. Shouldn't be like that. But that is also saying we never change the core of our strategy. So for me, order flow is at the core of my strategy. That's what I believe. And order flow is paired, of course, with fair value gaps, etc. So that's at the core of my strategy. When that is at the core of my strategy, I don't suddenly change it. That is very important as well. So again, these might be irrelevant questions for you. You don't have to fill them out as well. No worries at all. Then this as well, list all things you're currently using to see which of these things can be removed. Again, if you don't have a training plan or you haven't had an outside training plan. With an outside training plan, I mean a training plan that was formed outside of the mentorship. If you did have one, then it might be nice to just reflect on it and see how we've been able to simplify all those concepts in once. So that might be nice. But again, if you don't have a training plan and you came here for a training plan, then you don't need to fill out these things. All right, so this is simplifying. And again, this is a very, it's more so mindset as well, but it's also the reason why we do and why it works, etc. So it's very important to understand this video. All right, Perfect. Thank you.